On the 7th day of our honeymoon, Sincere Harrison and I happened upon a grand piano in the hotel lobby. His fingers tapped unconsciously on the keys, his expression distant. Just as I was about to speak, a string of unfamiliar notes began to play. I leaned against the piano. "You've been holding out on me, Mr. Harrison. When did you learn to play?" He didn't stop, but he slowed the tempo and chuckled softly. "I wanted to play for you in the future. Is it a good surprise?" My fingertips grazed the keys. "This doesn't sound like a beginner. How come you've never played for me before?" The music stopped abruptly. He avoided my gaze, staring down at the black and white keys. "Because this piece is a duet. It takes two people." "Two people?" I pressed. His fingers tensed for a moment before he smiled again, closing the lid of the piano and pulling me into his arms. "Who else?" "My piano teacher, of course." I didn't move, my eyes locked on his. I saw a flicker of panic in them. "I can play a little too," I said softly. "We could play together sometime." I expected him to be surprised or to readily agree, but a small frown creased Sincere's brow before it quickly vanished. The smile returned to his face, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Let's not," he said, draping an arm around my shoulders and guiding me away. "We're finally on our honeymoon. Let's not get sidetracked. Once we're back home and buried in work, who has time for this stuff anyway?" His arm was strong, leaving me no room to struggle. As he led me away, I glanced back at the black grand piano. Its polished lid reflected our retreating figures, growing smaller and more distant. Deep in my heart, a bitter feeling began to spread. Sincere and I were known as the model couple back in university. We met at the photography club, where he was the calm and capable president, and I was the meticulous vice president. We pulled all-nighters planning events together, lugged equipment up mountains to shoot the sunrise, and understood each other with just a single glance. Our relationship developed naturally. From the innocent days on campus to our professional lives, our 7-year romance finally led us to the altar. I once believed our future would be as vibrant and full of passion and understanding as the club we managed together. Now, a crack had appeared in that perfect picture. That evening, we went to see the famous local fireworks festival. Brilliant explosions of color burst across the night sky one after another, drawing gasps of awe from the crowd. Sincere hugged me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder, his voice filled with a contented smile. "This is what you've always dreamed of. It's happening now." Yes, it was happening. As a young girl, my greatest wish was to watch a magnificent fireworks display on a summer night with the person I loved most. But now, as the light from the fireworks illuminated my face, I tried to pull my lips into a smile and found I couldn't. It suddenly occurred to me that the love between Sincere and me was perhaps just like these fireworks. It had once burned with a fiery passion, and now it was time for the show to end. After the festival, the crowd slowly began to move. It was shoulder to shoulder, sticky with sweat, and so stuffy it was hard to breathe. Sincere held my hand tightly, afraid I would be swept away by the throng. Just as we were shuffling along with the flow of people, Sincere's steps suddenly halted. His eyes lit up as if he'd spotted something. He let go of my hand and, with a smile, ran toward a spot in the crowd. I stumbled, and after steadying myself, I looked up. Not far away, he was laughing and talking with a girl. The darkness of the night couldn't hide the light in his eyes, a boyish delight I had never seen before. It was as if all the fireworks that had just graced the sky had now landed in his eyes, lit up just for her. Finally, as if remembering I existed, he waved at me over the sea of heads, beckoning me to come over. I stood my ground, watching him from a distance. In a daze, I thought I saw the 18-year-old Sincere smiling and walking toward me through the crowd at the club's recruitment fair. But now, the 26-year-old Sincere was smiling at someone else. My heart felt like it was being squeezed, a dull ache spreading through my chest. I took a deep breath. pushed through the crowd, and walked toward him step by step. And I finally remembered who that girl was. Celia Lowe, a junior from our university, and also a former member of the photography club. A girl who was always quiet, trailing behind the group, but whose work always managed to be captivating. Chapter 2. Victoria, look who it is. Sincere's voice was filled with an excitement he couldn't contain. What a coincidence. I can't believe we ran into Celia here. I walked up to them, trying to keep my expression as natural as possible. I extended my hand to Celia and smiled. It's been a long time, Celia. Celia's gaze was fixed on me, and she didn't immediately return my friendly gesture. Her expression was complicated. After a few seconds, she slowly reached out her hand and shook mine. It's been a long time, Senior. Sincere stood beside us, marveling at the serendipity of it all, saying he hadn't seen her since graduation. I learned that Celia had gone to study in the UK after graduating and had come here specifically for the fireworks festival. Next week I'm planning to go to Nara to see the deer, Celia said, her eyes drifting toward Sincere, her tone light and cheerful. I hear the deer there are quite special. My heart sank. I instinctively looked at Sincere, because Nara was the very next stop on our honeymoon itinerary. Sincere's eyes met mine, and a flash of panic crossed his face. He spoke almost immediately, cutting off whatever Celia might have said next. It's getting late. We should head back to the hotel. Celia, you take care, being here by yourself. Celia looked back and forth between us, a surprised look on her face, as if she'd just realized something. Oh, I'm sorry, am I interrupting? She said, but she couldn't hide the joyful smile playing on her lips. After we said goodbye to Celia, the atmosphere between us grew tense. We walked side by side back to the hotel in silence. I waited a long time for him to offer an explanation, even a flimsy excuse, but he remained silent, only gripping my hand tighter. A cool night breeze blew past, but it couldn't dispel the heat of anxiety in my heart. In the end, I was the one who broke the silence. Why did you plan our honeymoon itinerary this way? My voice was very soft. Sincere's body visibly stiffened. He didn't look at me, his gaze darting toward a streetlight up ahead. Didn't you say in university that you always wanted to travel to the islands, see the fireworks, and feed the deer? We've been so busy since graduation, so I thought we could use the honeymoon to make all your wishes come true. His voice sounded so sincere, the reason irrefutable, but as he spoke he lacked conviction, and his words came out faster than usual. Just then, we approached a brightly lit convenience store. He immediately changed the subject. You must be hungry after all that walking. I'll go get you some snacks. You wait here. Before I could answer, he let go of my hand and hurried off. I stood there, watching his retreating back, feeling like something was slipping further and further away from me. My phone screen lit up with a notification from a local social media feed. I tapped on it without thinking. At 21, I said I wanted to see a fireworks festival with the person I liked, and go to Nara to see the free-roaming deer. At 26, you still remembered. The post was accompanied by a stunning photo of the fireworks we had just seen. Posted 10 minutes ago. The user ID was Celia Lowe Celia. I stared at those words for a long, long time, until my vision blurred and a teardrop hit the screen. I touched my face and realized it was already streaked with cold tears. I was 21 when Sincere and I had been together for 3 years. That was also the year Celia joined our photography club as a freshman. So that's how it was. Just then the convenience store door opened, and Sincere walked out, carrying a bag of snacks and hurrying toward me. Through my blurry, tear-filled eyes, I couldn't even tell if the worried look on his face was real or fake. He had lied to me again, about the piano piece, about this honeymoon trip. All the surprises and romantic gestures I thought were for me from start to finish. They were never meant for me at all. They were just a wish another girl had made years ago. Chapter 3. Sincere walked up to me. The light at the corner of the alley flickered and went out. In the darkness, he couldn't see the tear stains on my face. "Here, eat this while it's hot," he said, pressing the steaming bag into my hand, his tone coaxing. I didn't take it. He froze for a second, then chuckled as the light came back on. "Silly me, I forgot," he said, talking to himself. "You don't really like this stuff. It's all my fault. I just forgot for a moment. It's okay. We'll go back to the hotel, and I'll make you your favorite pasta dish." As he finished speaking, he finally noticed my red-rimmed eyes and tear-streaked face. Sincere's smile froze, the concern and helplessness on his face looking so real. He reached out to touch my cheek, his fingertips cold, his voice thick with guilt. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Tori. I was just in such a rush. I forgot you didn't like. Don't cry, it's my fault." His fingertips were cool, and the chill seeped through my skin and deep into my heart. I finally spoke, my voice trembling uncontrollably. "Were you in a rush because you were afraid I was hungry, or were you in a rush because you were afraid I'd ask about you and Celia?" The hand caressing my cheek instantly froze. "Victoria, what are you talking about?" he said, his expression evasive as he pulled his hand away. "Celia and I, we were just a senior and a junior. We barely had any interaction in the club, you know that. So now there's even less of a chance of anything." Yes, I knew. Back then they never had any undue contact, always maintaining a safe distance. Even I, the person closest to him, never saw anything amiss between them. My heart felt like it was being pricked by a needle, throbbing with pain. So the relationship I thought was indestructible had, from the very beginning, a third person I knew nothing about, a shadow hidden in his heart, one I had never discovered. Back in the hotel room, Sincere put down his things, glanced at his phone, and immediately grabbed his jacket from the sofa. Something urgent came up. "I need to step out for a bit." I looked at him, my heart like a clear mirror. In this foreign country, the only person he knew besides me was Celia. What kind of urgent matter could it be? It was painfully obvious. "What is it?" I pressed. "Does it have to be right now?" He froze, his lips moving but no words coming out. We stood there, staring at each other, the air thick and still. In the end, I was the one to back down. "Go," I said, looking away, my voice filled with exhaustion. Sincere seemed to let out a breath of relief. "I'll be back soon," he said quickly. "I'll bring you back a slice of that cake you love." The moment the door closed, the room fell into a dead silence. I walked over to his laptop and opened it. I needed to understand everything. On the computer, I found an encrypted folder. First, I entered my birthday. "Incorrect password." The red text felt like a slap in the face. I took a deep breath, my fingers hovering over the keyboard for a moment, before I typed in Celia's birthday. The folder opened. In that instant, I could almost hear the sound of my own heart breaking. So I couldn't even win against her for a folder password. Chapter 4. The folder didn't contain the intimate photos or flirtatious chat logs I had imagined. There was only a single short video file. I clicked play. The footage was a bit shaky, filmed in the university club's activity room. Afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating a younger Sincere and Celia sitting side by side at the piano. They were practicing a four-hand duet. It was the same melody Sincere had played that night on our honeymoon. In the video, there was no intimate physical contact, and they barely even spoke. But the focus, the unspoken understanding in their eyes, the unconscious smiles, that graced their lips, it was a look I had never seen on Sincere's face. It was a joy of resonating souls, one that had nothing to do with me. At the end of the video, the piece finished. Celia turned her head to look at Sincere and said softly, "Sincere, you play so beautifully." Sincere smiled, the tenderness in his eyes nearly overflowing. So, it had all started back then. I closed the video, feeling as if all the strength had been drained from my body. I immediately sent a message to my best friend, Charlotte Quinn, a top-tier divorce lawyer. "Charlie, help me draft a divorce agreement." The moment I sent the message, Charlotte's call came through, her voice filled with shock. "What happened, Tori? You just got married. You haven't even finished your honeymoon." I leaned against the cold wall and let out a wry, mirthless laugh. His heart strayed to someone else 6 years ago, and I was foolish enough to only find out today. There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by Charlotte's furious voice. "Okay, I get it. Cutting your losses is better than being stuck in the mud. Don't be sad, you still have me." I managed a soft and hung up. I pressed my tired eyes, 7 years of my life only to be summed up by those 4 cold words, "Cut your losses." I sat on the bed for a long time, until a sharp pain twisted in my stomach. I really was hungry. I decided to go down to the convenience store for a rice ball or something, but I never expected what I'd see at the corner of the hotel corridor. Sincere had, Celia pinned against the wall, his eyes bloodshot, his voice suppressed and pained. "Why did you have to show up?" "Celia, what am I supposed to do with you?" Celia tilted her head up, her eyes red, but with the air of a victor. "You know you love me." "Sincere, I won't be a homewrecker who destroys someone's family." The implication was clear, and Sincere knew what she meant. Sincere stared at her for a long time, as if he could no longer restrain himself. He leaned down and kissed the corner of her lips. It was brief, and then he pulled away. He paused, his voice hoarse. "It's true I've never forgotten you all these years, but I won't divorce Victoria." I turned around soundlessly and went back to the room. I opened my suitcase and began to pack. The hunger in my stomach was gone, replaced by waves of nausea. This so-called honeymoon no longer needed to continue. When Sincere returned, I was just zipping up my suitcase after folding the last piece of clothing. He saw my neatly packed luggage and a look of confusion crossed his face. "Why are you packing? We're not going to Nara until next week." I looked up and met his gaze quietly. There was a small, fresh cut on the corner of his lip, tinged with blood. It was obvious what he and Celia had been doing in the hallway. "I'm going back. I'm tired." "Tired?" Sincere walked over and knelt in front of me. His tone was gentle. "If you think the schedule is too rushed, we can slow down. Or we can just stay here for a few more days, not go anywhere, and just rest." How could he act as if nothing had happened? One moment he was lost in Celia's embrace, and the next he could so naturally switch roles and play the part of my considerate husband. I stood up, unwilling to play along with his act any longer. "Sincere," I said, looking him straight in the eye, "your lip is bleeding." He instinctively raised a hand to his mouth, his expression panicked. "Is it? It must have been a mosquito. It was itchy, so I must have scratched it open." "A mosquito?" I let out a soft, cold laugh. "A mosquito named Celia?" Chapter 5. He froze on the spot, the color draining from his face. "I saw you, in the hallway." I spoke each word clearly, "and I saw that video on your laptop. That 4-hand duet. You two played it beautifully." Sincere's pupils contracted sharply. He deflated, his shoulders slumping. After a long time, he finally looked up, his reddened eyes filled with pain and conflict, his voice raspy and unrecognizable. "Tori, I'm sorry." He ran his hands through his hair, clawing at his scalp as if in immense agony. "Yes, I admit it. Back in university, I did have feelings for her." He paused, as if organizing his thoughts, or perhaps reminiscing about that past he had treasured for so long. "You know, she's very talented, especially with music. We could talk about anything. The feeling was incredible, like meeting another version of myself, a connection of souls. But I was already with you back then." He looked up at me sharply, his voice desperate, his eyes pleading. "Tori, I love you. Our relationship was so good. How could I ever destroy it?" I was timid and cowardly, I didn't dare. So I hid that feeling away. I thought if I never said it, never touched it, it would just disappear on its own. He gave a bitter smile, his voice filled with self-mockery. I locked it in that folder to make it a part of the past for good. I thought it was the best choice for all three of us. I thought if I dedicated myself completely to you, I could make up for that small regret in my heart. He grew more agitated, even reaching for my hand, which I coldly pulled away. Tori, believe me, the person I love is you. That past is long over. I never, ever wanted to hurt you. He repeated himself over and over, his voice trembling with emotion, tears welling in his eyes. Listening to his confession, all I felt was a vast emptiness. So, I asked in a broken voice, this honeymoon, from the fireworks festival to the deer, in Nara, it was all because of a wish she made when she was 21, wasn't it? He fell silent. His face was a mask of torment and conflict. He didn't have to answer. I already knew. So for all these 7 years, all my happiness and sweet moments might have just been a reflection of his effort to compensate for his inner regret. All his kindness toward me might have been him looking through me, at the shadow of another person. I began to doubt every hug we had shared, every kiss, every time he had looked at me. How much of the love in his eyes was real, and how much was a lie. Chapter 6. I didn't argue with him anymore, nor did I break down into hysterical accusations. When the truth is revealed in the cruelest way, all emotion becomes redundant. I simply zipped up my suitcase calmly and stood up. Sincere, let's get a divorce. He snapped his head up, his eyes wide with disbelief. No, Victoria, I won't get a divorce, he said, his voice hoarse, almost begging. I swear, nothing ever happened between her and me. I admit I had a crush on her, but that's all in the past these 7 years. You know better than anyone how I've treated you. I love you. The one I love has always been you, love. I stared at him. Sincere, do you really love me? He hadn't expected the question. He stared at me, unable to answer. I smiled faintly. Admit it. The moment you developed feelings for Celia, you stopped loving me. You didn't dare to cheat because we already had a 3-year history, and you couldn't bear the social stigma. Sincere kept shaking his head, trying to deny it all, but I knew. He was just a man whose own vileness had been exposed, and he didn't have the courage to admit it. I continued, you treated Celia like some moon in the sky, too high to touch. You chose me because I was the suitable one, and you were already tired of the chase. At that, Sincere shouted, no, Tori, I know exactly who I truly love. We were together for 3 years and things had settled down. My feelings for Celia were just a temporary distraction after the initial passion faded. Believe me, Tori, I'll spend the rest of my life proving it to you. I looked at his face, twisted with agitation, and now it just looked repulsive to me. Sincere, just 3 years was enough to wear down your excitement. Your love is cheap, and you don't deserve to say the word love anymore. To do so would be a disservice to the real love we once had. We can't go back. Let it go. I used to read in novels where the heroine tells the hero, we can't go back. At the time, I thought that sentence must be the most heartbreaking thing in the world. But now that I was here, I realized there was nothing to be heartbroken about. I didn't want to get entangled any further. I grabbed my suitcase and walked toward the door. Victoria, he shouted from behind me, you can't just leave like this. Are you really going to throw away our 7 years of history so easily? I stopped, but didn't turn around. It wasn't me who threw it away. It was you. With that, I opened the door and walked out without a second glance. I booked the earliest flight back home. Sitting by the airplane window, watching the city below shrink into a tiny point of light, the tears finally started to fall uncontrollably. 7 years, over 2,500 days. The love I thought was indestructible turned out to be a sandcastle built on lies and deceit. And when the tide came in, it crumbled without a trace. Back in the States, I didn't go back to the home we had decorated together. I went straight to Charlotte's place. Without a word, she took me in and placed a drafted divorce agreement in front of me. I looked at the names Victoria Vance and Sincere Harrison on the document and felt an overwhelming sense of irony. Just half a month ago, we had signed those same names on another document. That one was called a marriage certificate. At the bottom of the agreement, I signed my name stroke by stroke without a hint of hesitation. From the moment I knew the truth, this relationship was already dead. Chapter 7. I mailed the signed divorce agreement to Sincere, but he refused to sign it. My phone was bombarded with his calls and messages. The content was always the same: apologies, regrets, and endless repetitions of how much he loved me, begging for another chance. I didn't reply to any of it and simply blocked all his contact information. Unable to reach me, he started showing up at my office to wait for me. I had security ask him to leave. Then he went to Charlotte's apartment building and waited downstairs once for an entire night. Charlotte couldn't stand it anymore and went down to talk to him. When she came back, she was fuming. "Do you know what he said?" She vented. "He said he knows he was wrong, but that he and Celia were innocent, that it was just an emotional affair, which is different. He even said that no man can guarantee he won't be attracted to someone else at some point, and as long as he comes back, he's still a good man." What a load of crap. What kind of thug logic is that? I was drinking water and nearly choked. "He still won't sign?" "Nope." Charlotte sighed. "He says a divorce would be unfair to you, and he wants to spend the rest of his life making it up to you. Tori, he's banking on you being soft-hearted. He's counting on your 7 years together, thinking you can't leave him." I put down my glass and was silent for a moment. "Charlie, help me file for a contested divorce." "Are you sure?" Charlotte looked at me. "A contested divorce can be a long process, and if it goes to court, a lot of things will have to be laid bare. It could be painful for you, too." "I'm sure," I said, my tone calm. "I want everyone to know why we're getting divorced. I don't want to end this ambiguously and be stuck with a reputation for being the one who caused trouble right after getting married." "He wants to compensate me? Fine. He can compensate me with his reputation. When my parents found out, they rushed over from their hometown immediately. My mom held me and cried harder than I did, calling Sincere an ungrateful scoundrel over and over. My dad, on the other hand, was silent. He just quietly peeled an apple for me and patted my shoulder. "Tori, don't be afraid. If the sky falls, Mom and Dad will hold it up for you. A divorce is a divorce. My daughter is so outstanding you'll have no trouble finding someone better." My family's support was my rock. I didn't need Sincere's guilt or compensation because I had a home to return to and a path to retreat. I had the strength to face anything with my head held high. I thought this divorce battle would drag on for a long time, but I never expected the turning point to come so quickly. And the one who brought it was Celia Lowe. I wasn't surprised when she asked to meet. We met at a quiet cafe. She still had that cool, artistic demeanor, wearing a white cotton dress, looking completely harmless. She skipped the small talk and got straight to the point. "Senior, I know Sincere has wronged you, but when it comes to feelings, there's really no right or wrong." I took a sip of my coffee and said nothing, waiting for her to continue. "Sincere and I were drawn to each other back in university. We had common interests. We could talk for hours. If it weren't for you, we would have been together a long time ago." Her voice was soft, but the words she spoke were utterly absurd. I almost laughed out loud. "So?" I put down my coffee cup and looked at her. "What are you trying to say? That I stood in the way of your great love story?" "That's not what I mean," she said, frowning, looking aggrieved. "I just want to tell you that the person Sincere truly loves is me. Marrying you was probably an impulsive decision, or maybe it was out of a sense of responsibility for your 7 years together. Now he wants to come back to me. Why can't you just let him go?" "Let him go?" I looked at her with amusement. "Oh, I'd love to, but he's the one who's not willing." Celia froze. Chapter 8. I let out a small laugh. "Miss Lowe, You probably don't know this, but I'm the one who asked for the divorce. I signed the papers and mailed them to him. It's Sincere who's refusing to sign, who's been harassing me endlessly, begging me to forgive him. Now, why do you think that is?" The smugness and triumph vanished from her eyes, her face turning pale and awkward. I stood up and looked down at her. I don't like hypocrites and I don't like schemers. As it happens, you're both. You don't need to come here to test the waters with me anymore. With all this time on your hands, you'd be better off going back and convincing Sincere to sign the papers. That way you can finally get his name and make it official, right? With that, I turned and left the cafe. Stepping into the sunlight, I let out a long, deep breath. It felt so liberating to finally lay everything out in the open. I don't know what Celia said to Sincere. 3 days later, I received the divorce agreement back from him, signed. Along with the agreement came a bank card and a letter. In the letter, he was still apologizing, saying how much he regretted everything and how sorry he was. He said the money in the card was all of his savings, a form of compensation for me. He said he finally understood that his hesitation and persistence were only causing me deeper pain. He wished me all the best for the future. I tore the letter to shreds and threw it in the trash. I had Charlotte return the bank card, untouched. Between us, we were even. A clean slate. The day we went to City Hall to get our divorce certificates, Sincere, and I didn't exchange a single word, completing the process like two strangers. When I held that dark green certificate in my hand, it felt surreal. 7 years of love started with 2 small booklets and ended with another. As we walked out of the building, Sincere called out to me, "Victoria." I stopped but didn't turn back. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice terribly hoarse. I was silent for a moment, then spoke. "Sincere, you don't have to be sorry to me. You just have to be sorry for our 7 years." With that, I hailed a taxi and drove away. Life after the divorce was calmer than I had imagined. I moved out of the home filled with memories and rented a small apartment close to my office. I packed everything related to Sincere into a box and left it at the community's donation bin. I started pouring all my energy into my work. By day, I was an efficient and decisive project manager. By night, I would curl up in my little apartment, reading, watching movies, and learning to cook. On weekends, I'd meet up with Charlotte to go shopping, visit exhibitions, or go hiking in the countryside. I worked hard to fill the void he left behind with a new life. Busyness was a potent medicine, slowly healing my wounds. The empty spaces left by one person's departure were gradually being filled by a new rhythm. Chapter 9. 6 months after the divorce, I was promoted to department head for my outstanding performance. A raise, a promotion. My life felt like it was on fast forward. Charlotte joked that leaving the wrong person really does bring good luck. I just smiled. It wasn't luck. It was just that I could finally live for myself without any distractions. I signed up for a pottery class and spent every Sunday afternoon shaping clay, watching a shapeless lump of earth slowly transform into a cup, a plate, a vase in my hands. That feeling of creation, of making something from nothing, was completely captivating. News of Sincere came to me occasionally through our old university group chat. I heard that he and Celia never ended up together after all. Apparently, Celia had lied about being pregnant to get him to marry her. Sincere found out, and he finally saw the true nature of his idealized love. They had a massive falling out and went their separate ways. The old classmates in the group chat expressed their sympathies. Someone tagged me and asked if I had any regrets. I replied with a single word: relieved. Relieved that I had left when I did. Relieved that I hadn't wasted all my passion and hope in a decaying relationship. Later, I was at a photography exhibition. From a distance, I thought I saw Sincere. He was much thinner and looked worn out, standing alone in front of a photograph, a solitary figure. He seemed to see me too. His gaze rested on me for a moment before he quickly looked away, as if he didn't dare to meet my eyes. I didn't go over to say hello. I just calmly turned my gaze away. I continued to admire the painting in front of me. of a young girl in the sun, just like me right now. All I could think was how good the sun felt. The hurt and betrayal of the past were like old scars that had been dried by time. Though the marks remained, they no longer ached. I finally understood. The best revenge on an ex isn't to make them regret it, nor is it to show them how much better your life is. It's when you, from the bottom of your heart, feel that they are no longer important.